So the brand new Google Pixel 6 Pro and the Galaxy S21 Plus are two fantastic phones. They both have a 6.7-inch display, they're both flagships, they both have a lot to offer. The S21 Plus has a few more features and is more expensive, while the Pixel 6 Pro is a little bit more streamlined, and yet it's been getting a ton of attention. So which of these phones is actually the better phone to buy? Well, in this video we're breaking down the differences between the Pixel 6 Pro, which I've been using for the past week, and the Galaxy S21 Plus, which I've been using for many months. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mike O'Brien, and like I said, we're talking about two really impressive flagship phones, the top of the line from the Pixel and actually the second from top for the Galaxy. But the reason I'm comparing these two, you might say, why wouldn't you compare the Ultra? Well, it comes down to this. The prices on these are relatively similar, the size of the display is similar, the camera specs are similar. These two phones felt like somebody looking for a phone in this size and price might be looking at these two right here. So that's why I chose to compare these two. So like I said, both have a 6.7-inch 120Hz display, a lot of really impressive things to like about these phones. The Pixel is selling at $900, which is really impressive for what you're getting, and the Galaxy is selling, well, originally it was listed at $1,000, but if you know Galaxy like I do, they are almost guaranteed to drop this price really substantially in the next couple months. So be sure to check the link in the description. I'll have a link for either one of these in case either of them go on sale. Really, the Galaxy I would expect to be a very similar price to the Pixel. But I want to talk about these in several different categories. I want to compare these not just with the specs, but also with the features and of course with the cameras, as well as the physical design. And I think those four things really allow you to get a pretty good idea of what it's like to actually use these phones on a day-to-day basis. Again, this is based on my experience as well as the specs and things like that, but really, when it comes down to it, what is it like to use these phones? Well, I think the features really go a long way. And I want to start off with the features that are exclusive to the Pixel. Of course, as always, and I've said this in other videos, you're getting a lot of the classic Pixel features on here, like hold for me, call screening, and things like that. But they've also added some really cool things to the camera, including Magic Eraser, which allows you to just eliminate objects that you saw in your photo that you didn't want there. You also have long exposure and motion blur, which I think are really cool things that I'm sure other cameras are going to copy soon. And then lastly, you have face unblur, which I think is also really impressive if you accidentally take a photo that is a little bit blurry. Of course, they've also been adding a lot of other stuff on here that might be able to work its way over to the Galaxy. For example, GBoard is getting more intelligent, although they did claim that a lot of that was tied into the tensor chip on here, which allows you to do more things locally. So elaborating a little bit more on that, what I meant by the more intelligent GBoard, the auto correction options are smarter. They're based on context. They're based on like your contacts on your phone and things like that. And at the same time, the voice typing is also more accurate now, where you can say things like add an emoji, you can tell it to clear, backspace, you can speak your punctuation. Things like that are all very impressive and great features that right now really only the Pixel 6 has. Additionally, we have interpreter mode with Google Assistant. Again, that's another thing that I wouldn't be surprised if that moved over to the Galaxy. And of course, the last thing I want to mention are the real-time transcriptions and subtitles, which for a long time have been a really popular feature on the Pixel, and it's only getting better and better with the new tensor chip. Now, that might sound like a lot of features to the Pixel, but Samsung, I'll just name some of my top ones here. Samsung's One UI has been known to absolutely jam this thing with a lot of features. Some of the big ones include Samsung DeX, which allow you to actually use your phone as a desktop or laptop when you plug it into a larger display. You also have a lot of native apps on here like Samsung Pass, Secure Folder, Samsung Internet, Samsung Health, and granted, a lot of those have their equivalent on the Pixel, or you could even get them like Samsung Health, for example. But having things baked into this phone just makes it a little bit easier when you're in that Samsung ecosystem. You also have some other One UI things, and again, I don't want to get too into One UI versus Pixel UI because that's another video, but some of the other features I really like on here, one of them is the Edge panel. So you just have a quick access to some toolbars on the side, whether that is for a level or a ruler or just some other apps that you want to use. Having the Edge panel I think is very useful. And just as a quick side note, if you're enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing so you don't miss future videos. A big one that wasn't actually significant to me, but I think a lot of people are going to care about this, is actually the biometrics on these phones. So on the Galaxy, we have an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which is under the display, and on the Pixel, we have an optical fingerprint sensor, which is under the display. Realistically, those are both relatively similar. The big difference, however, with biometrics is that the Galaxy allows you to use facial recognition. Granted, that is facial recognition with the camera on board, so it's not the most secure way to sign into your phone, but I know a lot of people have been commenting on my recent video covering the Pixel 6 and really complaining that they just really want to use that. They don't care if it's less secure, they really want to use it, and they want to have the option to use both. So that's definitely an advantage of the Galaxy here. Something that Galaxy has not done very well in the past was add some ads throughout their interface and their native apps. They did say they were getting rid of those, but still, it's something that, it's something they did. Who knows if they're going to do it again? Who knows what that's going to be like? And for myself, as somebody who loves earbuds, having dual Bluetooth connection on the Galaxy is a huge advantage. When you're on an airplane, you're trying to watch a movie and you want, whoever you're next to watch it with you, you can each have your own earbuds and connect 2 pairs to this and play simultaneously. I wish more phones did that. I think it's a great thing to have. Speaking of dual things, you also have dual messenger on here. So if you have 2 Snapchats accounts, 2 numbers, like things like that, you can have dual messengers set up with that. And there are a lot of other One UI customizations you can do to this that you don't really see in stock Android. But again, like I said, One UI versus Pixel UI, that's an entire separate video. The point here is that there are a ton of features on the Galaxy, probably more features I would say than the Pixel, but it is a compromise there. When you get more features, sometimes the interface feels a little bit more cluttered. But regardless, those are my favorite features between these, and I want to move on to the next category in this video, being the physical design differences. Before we get into the aesthetics, I just want to talk about the displays on these phones. They both have fantastic displays, great brightness, very vibrant, 120 Hz, and pretty good resolution. Now, the Pixel has slightly better resolution, being 1440 versus 1080, so if you can actually see that difference, I don't know. I mean, I think I can see the difference, so it definitely is a nice boost for the Pixel, but more importantly, it's the shape of the displays. And I think this is funny how the tables have turned here, where in the past, the Galaxies have almost always had the rounder waterfall edge, while the Pixels were flat, but now, like I said, the tables have turned. The Pixel now has those waterfall edges, giving you a slimmer bezel, or at least an appearance of slimmer bezel, and in all of the corners, it's much tighter, so much more boxy when you're looking at this, giving you a more full-body media experience. So for watching media, the Pixel definitely does a better job. Like I said in my original review, it feels more like a Galaxy Note when you're looking at it, versus the S21 Plus here, you can see has rounder edges and is a flat display overall, so not quite the same media viewing experience. When you're looking at the rails on these phones, it's actually really interesting how similar they are. The shape and size of the rails all the way around look so similar, and really the only differences are 1, where the SIM tray is, and 2, how the buttons are arranged, like if the power button's on the top or the bottom. But otherwise, the edges of these phones are, incredibly similar. Now, flipping to the back, this is where it gets incredibly different. Now, you see that we have many differences here from first of all, the aesthetic being a more matte display on the Galaxy versus a glossier display on the Pixel. Neither one really attracts that many fingerprints, mostly because it's such a lighter color on the Pixel. But I think overall, the aesthetics look really nice on both of these, but I do lean towards the practicality and the aesthetics of the Pixel with that wide camera bar. I think that it looks a little cleaner, it looks more different, more distinct, and while I do like the wraparound camera bump on the Galaxy, I just like how Google did things different here. I think it's a great way to kind of give you something to hold on to at the back of the phone when you're, at some different angle, and at the same time, it does a pretty good job of, reducing camera wobble. So if you set the phone down, it doesn't wobble back and forth. If you're drawing or just typing, whatever you might be doing, I don't know what you guys do with your phone, but the lack of camera wobble, I think is a good thing. So to summarize the physical design, my preference, I think, would be the Pixel. I just like how it looks and feels a little bit better. But talking about the camera bump or the camera row on there, let's actually get into a full camera test to see how these actually compare. Now, the cameras have a lot of different features on there, from the motion blur and long exposure, as I mentioned on the Pixel, but also the camera apps themselves are really different. As you can see right here, the Pixel app has a lot of customization just within the camera app itself. So if you tap on the middle of the photo, you can adjust the highlights and the shadows and adjust the white balance on the left. And granted, you can get different camera apps for either one of these, but the native camera apps, realistically, is what most people, I think, are going to end up using. Now, the Galaxy, again, being One UI, has more features packed into there. So they have 8K, they have portrait video, they have single take. Personally, I never use 8K or single take, really. They also have director view, and they have custom filters. Out of all of those, I'd say custom filters is really the only one I would ever be inclined to use, and I think that is fun to use, but otherwise, the camera apps, they both have a lot, but they're both also very capable. So let's take a look at what the photos actually look like and the videos under normal circumstances. Alright, so this is a video test with the Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus, as you can see right here, and with the Google Pixel 6 Pro. Honestly, these look really, really different with video, so leave a comment and let me know which one sounds better and which one looks better. Alright, now this is a video test with the rear-facing cameras. You can see my dead pumpkin right here. We can see the autofocus is pretty quick on both of these. The color looks pretty natural. As far as stabilization goes, if I jump around, as you can see right here, the Pixel does a really good job of stabilizing that. The Galaxy does as well, but leave a comment and let me know which one looks better and which one sounds better. But let's go out to ultra-wide. This is what the ultra-wide video looks like. Again, very stable, pretty consistent colors here. All right, now finally, this is the telephoto lens on both of them. So this is 4x on the Pixel and 3x on the Galaxy. Of course, this is using the zoomed in mic, but still very stable. The Galaxy seems to be a little bit more smooth when it pans, whereas the Pixel seems to jump whenever you move. So taking a look at the photos, you can see right here, the Pixel Pro I think does a much better job for most photos. It looks a little bit more realistic, and of course you can adjust the settings in the camera app very easily. So if you want it a little more moody, very easy to change that while you're taking the photo. But I think when you go to landscapes, the Galaxy kind of ekes ahead here. So it has more saturation in darker blacks. And again, here in an indoor setting, sometimes it's a little bit too saturated, but it kind of comes down to what your preference is. There are plenty of times when having a more saturated photo is something people prefer, but the Pixel keeps things a little flatter and a little more realistic. Now, ultra-wide is more ultra-wide, it's more zoomed out on the Galaxy, but with that, a little bit more distortion. The wide-angle lens looks pretty similar in both of these, but again, more saturated on the Galaxy. The telephoto, I think, looks better on the Pixel, being 4x versus 3x. At 20x zoom, the Pixel really pulls ahead here. Even though the Galaxy S21 can technically go to 30x, I don't really think that's a whole big win there. Now, other than that, when you look at the front-facing camera, the Pixel really focused on skin tones this time, so while I look a little bit more red in the Galaxy and there is a little bit more smoothing going on, I think the Pixel looks a bit more realistic, especially when you get into portrait mode, as you can see right here. Now, other than people, another big thing is night mode. And night mode with these, you can see, is definitely very different. So the Pixel gets a little bit more light, and if you have time to really set up a tripod, the astrophotography mode really blows the Galaxy out of the water. So overall, which one has a better camera? Well, while I think the Galaxy does a better job in landscape situations and it is fun to have that saturation, I generally think the Pixel is overall a better camera. All right, and now we get into the specs and the internals of these devices. So starting off with the battery life, this is really interesting. Now, the Galaxy has 4,800 milliamp hours on board, and the Pixel has an extra 200, bringing it to 5,000. You can expect a slightly longer battery life on the Pixel, thanks to the adaptive battery usage and the larger battery, but realistically, these are going to be giving you approximately a very similar battery life. Now, the processors themselves are also really different. You have the Snapdragon 888 on the Galaxy, and you have Google's Tensor on theirs. Now, Google's Tensor is really targeting making things faster for very specific Google things, like the camera, the video, a lot of things like that are more capable. Magic Eraser, for example, is something that really only exists because of their own Tensor chip. And on top of that, it is making onboard AI things like speech to text a little bit faster and more capable. So it's really hard to measure which one's actually faster, but for the use cases, these are both very fast and very capable chips. But something that is measurably different is actually the RAM on these. The Pixel comes with 12 gigabytes of RAM, while the Galaxy is only 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is still plenty for most situations, but again, a notable difference there. And on top of that, the storage is also very different with these. The Galaxy S21 Plus, Samsung kind of held back a little bit because they didn't want to eat into the sales of the S21 Ultra, and so the storage on this caps out at 256, whereas on the Pixel, you're able to go up to 512 gigabytes. So overall, between these phones, which one is the better buy? Well, I said my personal preference for the physical design was with the Pixel. I really do like a lot of the software features on the Galaxy, although it definitely can feel a little bit more like a cluttered interface, so that one is absolutely your own preference. If you want a cleaner, smoother interface like the Pixel, or if you want to have those extra features in there and you're okay with navigating around a little more, then getting things like DeX and dual messenger and dual Bluetooth audio, definitely big positive with the Galaxy. But Pixel has come a long way in adding more of those features, and so I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year we look at this and a lot of those features are available on the Pixel. Like we saw Pro Video before on the Galaxy, now you can connect Bluetooth earbuds and use them as a microphone on the Pixel. But regardless of that, between these phones, I would say in general, I think it's probably a smarter purchase to actually go with the Pixel. Now, I don't usually do this. Usually I say it depends on what you want, I try to break it down, but I think for most people out there, saving that $100 and getting the Pixel would give you not only a better phone, but also a better value for the money, with a better media viewing experience, in my opinion, better cameras, and overall, I think a slightly more impressive phone. But of course, you can leave a comment below. These are definitely really amazing phones, and like I said, I have been using the Galaxy S21 Plus for many months. So I have nothing against this phone. I really love it, and if you buy it, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I just think in general, the Pixel might be a slightly better purchase. But like I said, leave a comment below and let me know what you think of these phones. As always, if you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. I'm Mike O'Brien. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.